welcome to Ottawa Experts. I'm your host, Barbara Balfour. Well, living during a global pandemic has certainly caused us to put our habits and our relationships under a magnifying glass. If anything, COVID has accelerated any spiritual decay we might have been feeling at our jobs or perhaps stuck in toxic relationships. Budget cuts and layoffs have made us feel like we have to toe the line and further betray ourselves and sense of purpose just to keep paying the bills in an uncertain economic climate. And even those of us who are financially secure may be feeling spiritually or emotionally bankrupt. But the truth is that there's no better time than right now to take a second look, take a time out, and reassess our lives and where we want to go. It's best not to even wait until the pandemic is over to take control and be happy, because life is what's happening right now in the present moment. If you're ready to make a positive change in your life, this is the show for you. Tonight's panel of guests are going to help you take a second look at your health, at your wealth, and the cards that life has dealt you to harness the power of positive thinking and get to where you want to go. Make no mistake, positive thinking isn't about being Pollyanna, but rather about reframing life's circumstances. And there's no better example of this than our first guest tonight. I'm so pleased and honored to introduce Sensei David Armstrong. He's a motivational speaker, a life coach, and an at-risk youth expert. David grew up in a broken family and went through numerous foster homes and youth correctional facilities after his mother suddenly died when he was only 13 years old. But after overcoming all of those life's obstacles, and after defying his destiny, and after retiring from 24 years of active duty military service, David decided to dedicate his life towards helping people and children better their lives. David is the founder of Unlimited Potential Network Academy Life Coaching and the author of a motivational autobiography, Why Me, which is available on Amazon. Thank you so much, David. You're joining us all the way from Greece, where it's surely the middle of the night tonight. I admire your energy. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, it's my absolute pleasure. It's my absolute pleasure. I'm so excited to be here. I'm excited to give nuggets of advice, truth, and kind of share my story and hope to inspire all of your listeners. So thanks for allowing me to be on the platform.
Our viewers are surely in for a treat tonight. Next, I'm so pleased to welcome Keisha Blair, who is local to Ottawa. She is the award-winning international best-selling author of Holistic Wealth, 32 Life Lessons to Help You Find Purpose, Prosperity, and Happiness. She is the founder of the Keisha Blair Institute on Holistic Wealth and the world's foremost expert on the subject. Keisha has been profiled in the New York Times, the Harvard Business Review, and numerous other publications. She hosts her own podcast on holistic wealth, and her viral article, My Husband Died at Age 34, Here Are 40 Life Lessons I Learned From It, has been viewed by more than 50 million people. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us tonight, Keisha.
It's great to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
As I told you before, I'm always blown away by the talent that we have right here in our backyard. So we're thrilled to have you join the panel tonight. And then finally, last but not least, joining us all the way from London, England, tonight we have Jenna Sophy. She's a world-renowned subconscious specialist and energy healer. Jenna has worked with thousands of high performers, from Fortune 500 CEOs to billionaires, to transform their stress, their trauma, and their physical blocks by harnessing the power of their mind when just about everything else has failed. Now, after battling several incurable chronic illnesses for more than a decade, Jenna managed to heal herself, and now she helps others go beyond their limits to manifest better health, relationships, success, and fulfillment. Welcome, Jenna, and thank you so much for staying up late for us tonight.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me, and I'm honored to be amongst the guests that are here today as well. So thank you.
Now, I wanted to start the discussion tonight by asking each one of the panelists, what was the aha moment that led you to realize that harnessing the power of the mind and harnessing the power of a positive mindset was your calling in life? Let's start with you, David. I realize that's a big question. You've gone through a lot, but in a nutshell, what made you decide to follow this path?
So I don't believe in aha moments per se. I think that life should be a continuum of aha moments. We should always be seeking the aha moment, the next aha moment, living in the aha moment, uh, just kind of taking advantage of everything and every aha moment we can possibly have. But if I'm thinking about my personal journey, my personal life, it would be two people that made a profound difference in my life. So I'd be dead literally if it wasn't for two people: my martial arts instructor, Sensei Otto Johnson, and my guardian ad litem, Mr. Ron Barnick. Both of them have passed, but they literally saved my life. So if I one thing is, they had no idea that they saved my life, and if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't have been able to impact so many other people. So you never know how your positivity, how your involvement, how your expertise, your just love and guidance, and that aha moment that you can create for someone else can really just profoundly impact them.
Beautifully said. And what about you, Keisha?
Yeah, so for me, I had several, but to be honest with you, that night that I walked into the hospital and, with my husband living and breathing, and walked out of the hospital 3 hours later with a white plastic bag with my husband's belongings, after they declared him dead, that was a big moment for me and kind of the impetus for the whole holistic wealth framework that I've laid out in my book, because it was right there and then that I realized that, life is short and we have to live the best way we can. We have to live it intentionally and we have to make that impact and leave our legacy in life. So that for me was a big aha moment. And, at that point, we didn't even know what was the cause of the death. It took them 1 whole year to figure out the cause because the illness was so rare. It was a rare illness that most doctors will never see in their lifetime, only in textbooks. And it took them 1 year to find out the cause of death. It took them 1 year to do the autopsy. So that whole year was, a year spent just soul searching and just trying to figure out, and with so many aha moments. And but if I had to single out one, that would definitely be it.
Thank you so much for sharing. And what about you, Jen? I know you had some struggles with your health that kind of led you to sit up one day and say, enough is enough. I'm doing it my way.
Yeah, absolutely. It definitely was where I was tired of putting my power outside of myself and, relying on experts, medical experts to determine what I could actually do and be. And for me, I was tired of just continuously searching and being on medication and with no hope in sight. And this is where I really kind of started my journey and being curious and how I could harness the power of my mind to really create optimal health and well-being in my body. So for me, it was an ongoing journey, and there definitely was a good year of aha moments of discovering how much power I actually really had to harness within myself to create the well-being that I now have today.
And I'm definitely fascinated by the science of how the mind feeds the body, and definitely want to do a deep dive into that later on in the show. But first, a question I want to ask everyone: why is it so much easier to be negative, even though being positive should be more pleasurable? Being negative, having a pity party, it's almost addictive. And Keisha, I know that's one of your 40 life lessons in your article that went viral is, don't feel sorry for yourself, don't adopt a victim mentality. But why do so many of us keep going back to it? It's almost as if we're wired as humans to be more negative than positive.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we are wired definitely to dwell on the negative more. It's so much easier, it takes less effort, and we go there because it's it's something that we dwell on, and it's so easy to think about the past. It's easy to lay blame. It's easy to think, oh yeah, maybe it was X or Y person or this situation, or if something else had happened. And so it's very easy to dwell on the negative, and it's so much harder to just harness the power of positivity, which is what's needed. But or first reaction isn't necessarily there. I think it's something that we need to work on. It's something that we need to be intentional about, and over time it becomes a part of you, but it's definitely something that we need to work on.
Now, Dave, you've definitely graduated from the School of Hard Knocks, and you've had your fair share of times of falling down and then getting back up. When have been some times when you've sort of felt compelled to feel sorry for yourself, and what kind of caused you to snap out of it and get back to the path, I guess?
Well, we're set up to feel sorry for ourselves. Biologically, it's the easiest and path of least resistance. So many of the listeners right now feel sorry for themselves in some way, shape, or form, and knowing that's just the natural state of being, and also you can change that, is really the crux of just positive thinking and pulling yourself out of bad situations. Because the truth is, if you're walking on this planet, if you're living, if you're breathing, you're going to have bad situations happen. And setting yourself up to understand that you can actually change what you're doing, how you're doing it, and the way you're tackling life is just so important, because you're going to have another episode of bad situation, one after another. It's going to happen. People are going to get hurt, people are going to get sick, people are going to pass away. This is just a fact of life. But understanding that and being able to go, you know what, I'm going to build the muscle memory to be able to handle these situations. I'm not going to fall into a state of depression. And I'll tell you personally, I was depressed for 2 years and didn't even know it. I had amongst other things, I actually had a broken spine. So my L5S1 was totally broken, had no disc in between. And wow. I was suffering for a couple of years. Really bad. And so now I have 5 screws and 2 rods in my back. But the truth is, I was depressed and didn't even know it. And here my wife and my friends are going, you're not okay. But I had lost. I was a martial artist. I was an athlete professionally. I had lost all of the stuff that made me who I was, and trying to redefine and figure out, who are you now, right? You had been this person that came from all of this, but who are you now? You have to redefine it. So, I mean, again, there's plenty of aha moments in life, and that was one of mine, is going, okay, yeah, I am depressed. What do I do about it?
Definitely want to hear more about where your life's journey has taken you, David, and also talk to Keisha Blair more about what holistic wealth is, as well as to Jenna about the ways in which we might be sabotaging ourselves and we don't even realize it. But all this and more after we come back from the break. We'll be right back.
This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
I say, listen when I say, I came from the dark, I ain't afraid of no shade. Even as a child, I ain't playing no games. All on my own, had to find my place. I'm chilling on an island and doing my own thing. I came from the dark, I ain't afraid of no shade. Even as a child, I ain't playing no games. All on my own, had to find my place.
Are you a woman experiencing abuse? Do you know a woman experiencing abuse? Help is available any time of day or night. ShelterSafe.ca is an online map that helps you find a women's shelter or transition house that meets your needs so you can live a life free from violence. ShelterSafe.ca. Help is just a click away.
Don't let limited mobility affect your lifestyle.
I want you to push one arm forward.
Whether it's from surgery, an injury, or just time itself, when we move, we can improve our lifestyle. Join Anita Finley each week for a series of workouts that you can do in the comfort of your own home. All you need is a sturdy chair.
This is not about you sitting to watch me. This is about you sitting and joining me.
Tune in to Move and Improve right here on Rogers TV.
Join us as we look back at previous investiture ceremonies honoring great Canadians. Watch the Order of Canada exclusively on Rogers TV.
Hi, I'm Harriet Clooney. Come check out my show, Scrap Cooking, where I'm going to show you how to use the bits and bobs, the ends, the pieces of things that you might otherwise throw in the compost. I'm going to show you how to turn them into something delicious.
Back to Ottawa Experts, I'm your host, Barbara Balfour. Join us tonight for a conversation on how to harness positive thinking to make the best out of every situation. Focus on what you can control and let go of what you can, and look for the lesson in every situation. Now, before we went to break, Keisha, we were talking a little bit about what it is that you do for a living, which centers around the field of holistic wealth. And I'm absolutely fascinated by that. I would love to learn more, because I think most of us, when we fantasize about winning the lottery or getting rich, we forget about all the other elements, the spiritual and the emotional elements. And the kind of financial planning that you do looks at all of those. Talk to us about that a little bit.
That I've outlined in my book is, as you've stated, it's based on those pillars that you mentioned just now, which we all need to be resilient and to overcome life-altering setbacks, or just setbacks in general. So it's that financial wellness and financial independence. It's that emotional and mental health or wealth. And it's that spirituality and reaching inward that helps us to weather the storm. So holistic wealth is a combination of these core building blocks, and it's so important. As we've seen through COVID-19, those have been the major news stories of the year, in terms of how we can be resilient, both with our finances and how mentally, we can maintain a positive outlook and be mentally strong, and as well, with our emotional health and our spiritual health in terms of mindfulness, which also helps with positive thinking and remaining positive. So that's kind of the whole concept of holistic wealth. And of course, with holistic wealth too, I talk a lot about the holistic wealth mindset, which is so different from a victim mindset, Barbara, because how you mentioned earlier in the show about negativity and why it's so easy to just think negative. I mentioned in my book that I think it's 80% of the world's planet, are stuck in a victim mindset. And it's so crucial that we harness the power of positivity. And so the holistic wealth mindset is a framework that I've outlined in my book. And of course, that also includes, positive thinking, not thinking of life in permanent terms, in terms of a setback, just thinking that, okay, this isn't permanent, this is temporary. This isn't, going to be a long-term constraint. I'm going to overcome it. And so it's switching from that victim mentality to a holistic wealth mindset. And of course, as you mentioned, in terms of the financial aspect, this affects everything, and it helps us to remain confident, both with our money decisions and other decisions that we make. Because if we're confident in our money decisions and we're positive about the decisions we make, then we'll be happier, more confident. Our wellness will not only be in terms of our mental and emotional health, but with our finances as well. And I mean, there's so much in there that I could talk about, but it's so important that those critical building blocks, like we all need to see them as kind of, tools in our toolkit so that we can use them and draw upon the lessons that we need to overcome these setbacks.
I'll be honest with you, Keisha, I do sometimes like to have a little pity party once in a while. It's almost like a guilty pleasure. I don't know if you ever feel like that sometimes too, despite your best efforts. And like some people, I sometimes will go out and buy myself a little sparkly trinket or a new lipstick or something like that just to lift my spirits, which leads me to my next question. I took the free financial quiz on your website, and the personality type I got was that I'm a maximalist. So I'm someone who tends to like to live life to the fullest. Is that good news for my desire to get back on the path of positive thinking, or am I more in danger of perhaps using money as a coping mechanism or a distraction?
You know what? I'm so happy to hear that you took the quiz and that, you've been thinking about that in terms of your personal financial identity. So I really like the maximalist, because the maximalist is that person who wants to make everyone around them comfortable and happy. And that's the person that's looking out for everyone, the kindest heart, the biggest heart in the room. So I hear about, you mentioned the guilty pleasure and getting that lipstick, and I tend to be like that too. So I think with a maximalist, it's just putting in place accountability mechanisms, just to ensure that the money decisions that you're making are sound, and that they all are a part of a long-term financial plan. So there's nothing wrong with, like, getting that cup of coffee or that lipstick. It's just making sure that we're sticking to that budget, that we're sticking to that long-term plan, and that we know, at least, we have a sense of our own personal financial identity. So we know our strengths and weaknesses, and we know how to harness those strengths, both for our good and for the good of others. And that's the critical part. And that's also very helpful in terms of maintaining that positive outlook, because then we're like, well, you know what? I know who I am. I'm self-aware. I can advocate for myself, and I can, use this for self-preservation. So I don't have to go out of my way, to necessarily do things that I shouldn't be doing. But this is something that can actually help me harness that positivity, because I'm so confident and I know who I am. I'm self-aware, and I can talk about it, in terms of who I am and what my goals are.
And self-awareness is a huge part of the puzzle. Now, I want to go back to David. One of the points that you make in your book that you so graciously provided me a copy of is that we have to take responsibility for everything that happens to us. And I'm curious to know what that looked like to you, because how do you take 100% responsibility when a lot of these things weren't your fault and you couldn't help them? And how do you do that without blaming yourself for the things that happen to you that you can't control?
Look, the truth is you have agency over everything that you do, almost everything that you do. So, if you choose to be negative, it's a choice. If you choose to see the glass half full versus half empty, it's a choice. So why would you choose negativity over positivity? And I think that most of us do, because we're habitual creatures. We like complacency. Our bodies like complacency. Our minds like complacency. And so it's a natural state of being for a lot of people. And the thing is, if you don't catch it, it just becomes who you are. You just become that person that is always negative, that doesn't see the light at the end of the tunnel. And that just perpetuates itself. And eventually it harms your health, your relationships, your life. And people just don't realize it. People don't realize that they're going down this path of just having a habit, just being negative. And they can choose to say, you know what, yeah, I caused a car accident. I'm not okay. Let me figure out how to move on with life. Life doesn't have to stand still in this moment. it can move on and I could still take responsibility for my actions, but also know that I can overcome this and the next thing and the next thing. But it's a matter of just waking up, just going, okay, I want to build that muscle memory, that habit of seeing things just a little more positive. Look, life is not all positive. I'd be kidding, I'd be lying to people if life was just positive and you're not going to have any negative thoughts. But what you do with those thoughts is what really matters.
What steps have you taken, David, to forgive yourself and forgive others along your journey?
Forgiveness is huge. Forgiveness, we hold on to things that people have done to us. And boy, it can just really just cut deep sometimes to the point where you're sacrificing even yourself. You were in a relationship where things went awry and maybe this person left or maybe this person did this or that and the other, and you're holding on to that. And I'll share a quick story with you. So we know I grew up rough, and so rough is seeing my stepfather beat my mom consistently. It was just part of the routine almost every day. And then he started deflecting to me and beating me to the point where he would even have his friends hold me, and he would do something called a knuckle sandwich. He would put his knuckle out and pound me on the top of my head and put knots on the back of my head. And, as a kid, it's not about forgiving, it's about getting out of that situation. But as an adult, I could have held on to that and a lot of other things, or I could have said, you know what, all that made me who I am today, and I really like who I am today. So you can take every experience in your life, positive, negative, neutral, and go, I am who I am because of that experience.
Now, what you're saying, David, reminds me of something that I've read in some of Jenna's writing, in that time does not necessarily heal all. Often time is irrelevant. It's more the perception that's important than the amount of time that's passed since the painful event. Talk to us, Jenna, about the ways in which your clients might be sabotaging themselves by subconsciously holding on to old wounds that they may not even realize that they still carry.
Yeah, absolutely. Just to David's point, it really is all about perception, right? We go through events and it's not like life is all positive or all negative. It's the identity and the identification we give to the events that have happened to us. And so time and time again, I'll see with my clients, coming in and they have some sort of resentment or something that they're holding on to, and they're hoping that they'll get resolved from the other person. But it comes to a point where you have to recognize that the longer you hold on to this, it's just about you drinking the poison. No one else is having difficulty other than you. And so when you actually close that loop and you close that trauma subconsciously, you're really able to let go of the past and bring yourself and your mindset into the present moment, which really allows for that freedom to take place. And the past is no longer dictating your current situation.
I want to hear more about the power of positive thinking on the body, but first we have to go to break. More after this. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
October 5th, 2014, my daughter was hit by a train. She was walking along the sides of the tracks, and it shattered her world.
I just can't smile without you.
Now you can enjoy the Amazon Prime Video app on Ignite TV. Just say Amazon Prime Video into your Ignite voice remote and watch Amazon originals like The Expanse.
They wanted a fight. We'll give her one.
The Wilds.
Are we in the actual Bermuda Triangle?
And The Boys.
That is amazing.
Prime members can stream Amazon originals, movies, TV shows, and more on Ignite TV today. Now you're in command.
When you're online, Rogers TV on YouTube shares news and events from your community. Like messages from local leaders, updates on the latest health news, local business presenting their new offerings, and how our local communities are working their way through these unprecedented times. Visit and subscribe to Rogers TV on YouTube for the latest local information.
This is my new world. This is my new world. This is my new.
Welcome back to Ottawa Experts. I'm your host, Barbara Balfour, and on tonight's show we're talking about harnessing the power of positive thinking. Now, David, you wrote an autobiography recently that's now available on Amazon. It was published last year. We'll just bring up the cover of the book right now on the screen, and the title of the book is called Why Me? Tell us about the choice for the title. Is it a question that you asked yourself growing up?
Actually, no. You know, the ironic thing is that I wrote the book to serve others. I didn't write the book about me. The premise of the book, it isn't really about me. It's an autobiography, but it really was written to connect with people that are going through or that have gone through or that are serving young men or young women that are going through the situations that I went through as a kid. So, you know, although I wrote it and it's my autobiography, I put nuggets of truth in here, you know, advice, different things that, you know, people that are reading it, if they're working with kids or if they are a youth that's going through and struggling, they can really take something out of it that's tangible, that works, and apply it to their own lives.
What are some of the lessons you've learned along the way that you found the most powerful and helpful for others?
The lessons learned, you know what? Accepting help, finding help, getting help, are big things. There were, you know, I when I do speaking, so I'm a motivational speaker, and when I speak, sometimes I talk about the fact that when I was a kid, and a lot of kids that grew up or grow up in the situation that I did are void. So it's not like if they, you know, they kill you, they rob you, they shoot you, they take your money. It's not a personal thing. They just don't care about you. And when you have absolutely nothing to live for, why would I value your life? And so those are pretty deep words, and those are pretty deep thoughts, like understanding that these kids, these young people that just have nothing, they're void. They don't care about you. And so I was hoping that the book would connect with people that are feeling that void, right? That are in that void, or working with a young person and they're going, I keep trying to get through to him, or I keep trying to get through to her, and nothing seems to work. Well, you have to understand that people in that situation, young people in that situation, don't necessarily understand love. So connecting with them on their level, connecting with them in a different way will work. It's just a matter of you adding stuff to the arsenal that you already have, you know?
Throughout your life, have you ever gotten to the point where you've said, I can't keep doing this anymore. I can't do this alone. I just need the universe to throw me a bone. I need someone to hold my hand a little bit. And when you get to that point, did you find then that the universe somehow magically delivered that, or that your way of thinking shifted somehow?
To directly answer your question, no, it was actually the opposite. You know, when I was 12, after my mom passed away, I was 13 years old, and I was sentenced to a boys' camp. And I remember after she passed away, the feeling of abandonment, of loneliness, of just that void that I was talking about, just a black hole that and you can't see anything else. And one day I was walking home from school, and I couldn't stand it anymore. I just didn't want to deal with it anymore. So I sat under a bridge. It was raining, and I just cried. I just cried and cried and cried. And then I got to the point where I said, okay, I don't need to be here. And I grabbed a bottle. There was a beer bottle or a glass bottle. I don't know if it was a beer bottle under the bridge. And I went to cutting on my wrists. And I couldn't even kill myself is what I was thinking. I was cutting and I wouldn't die. And I thought, wow, not only am I alone in this big world, I can't even do anything right. Nobody gives you positive self-talk, you know, when you're in the hood, when you're a kid growing up in that environment. Nobody tells you how to love yourself. And so, you know, it took a long time to trust people and to accept people and to even want to change anything about myself and to do anything in this big world. And so it's hard when you're a kid and you feel alone like that.
And ultimately, the person who changed everything for you was you. And then, of course, some of the common themes that you discuss in your book is the importance of something that you're good at, that you can hang your hat on, that you can be proud of, and having people that you look up to that support you, whatever role models you can find.
Absolutely. You know, the truth is we resonate with people on different levels all the time. And so if you're an adult or someone that works with young people and you're making that connection with them, that's an important connection. And if you're an adult going through life and you're just going, gosh, I'm feeling a little alone, I'm feeling like I can't figure it out. Action. You have to find somebody to be in your corner. If that's a paid coach, if that's a spiritual healer, if that's a yogi, whatever the heck it is that resonates with you and in your life, you have to find someone that is in your corner, that can give you good advice, that can really help you out of different ruts or change your mindset.
Thank you so much for sharing that, David. I want to shift gears to Jenna. Talk to us a little bit about how our mind creates things and the power of our subconscious mind to shift thought patterns and ideas that we might have been stuck with our whole lives and don't even realize.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first we have to really understand what is the subconscious mind and how does it operate. So in a really simplified version, the subconscious governs 95% of our mindset. This is where everything that we've ever picked up is stored. This is where our perceptions, our beliefs, basically live. And for us to actually shift out of the beliefs that we are engaging in day to day and the patterns of thought and the habits, we actually have to go in to our subconscious and rewire the patterns of thinking so that we can actually achieve our desired goals. So it's not just about thinking positive thoughts, but actually making sure that that part of you is being programmed so that you actually become the positivity that you would like to embody.
Thank you so much. We just have to go to break, but we'll hear more from our guests afterwards on harnessing the power of positive thinking even throughout the most difficult of circumstances. We'll be right back after this.
Think it's okay to drive high? Think again. Drug-impaired driving is as illegal as drunk driving, and in Ontario, the penalties are the same. If police suspect you're driving under the influence of drugs of any kind, or a combination of drugs and alcohol, and you fail a roadside test, your license will be suspended immediately for up to 30 days. You'll pay a penalty of $198. And you can be charged with a criminal offense of impaired driving, the same as alcohol. Driving high is never okay.
Play 4 games of bingo from the comfort of your own home each Monday at 7 p.m. for your chance to win money from our $2,000 regular bingo or $5,000 super bingo night. Kiwanis TV Bingo, Mondays at 7 p.m. on Rogers TV.
Welcome back to Ottawa Experts. I'm your host, Barbara Balfour, and we're talking about harnessing the power of positive thinking on tonight's show. Jenna, before we went to break, we were talking a little bit about the nature of the work that you do. Now, you were only 22 years old, Jenna, when you were told that you had several incurable diseases and you would never be able to have a child, and a hysterectomy was your only option. And you've pretty much healed yourself from your illnesses without having to go the surgical route. Tell us about how you did that, and what are some tangible ways our viewers and listeners tonight can use the power of their minds to try and heal themselves?
Yeah, so it's really important to understand that there is a mind-body connection. And, if we're just looking through one perspective in how we can heal, which is just the physical route, we're really not taking the full picture in. And we really have to understand how our mind actually creates the matter that is within us. And so in order to actually activate a healthy body, we have to have a healthy mindset, and we have to have beliefs that support that. So for the longest time, I had these beliefs that, I'll always be unhealthy, I'll never be well again, I'll never be able to have children. These were all things that were told to me and continue to program me for what I thought was my reality. And then I came across the work of Dr. Bruce Lipton, and he speaks about epigenetics, which is basically this really empowering way of understanding how our mind-body connection works. We were told this old paradigm way of thinking that things are genetic, we have no control over our body. And that's actually the opposite. He found that we actually have the power to change our genetics, our epigenetics. And through this is by really harnessing the power of our subconscious to rewire the way in which our body responds to the external world. And our genetics basically are determined by our environment and the stress and the things that we eat and the information that we absorb. All of these things connect to the way that we are either thriving or surviving in health. And so really, if you're struggling with a health concern and you're wondering, how do I get out of this? First thing is to recognize that you have the ability to come out of anything, no matter how difficult or constricting it may feel. And it all starts with the mind. We have to really start to embrace our own personal power, to recognize that it doesn't matter what people say, there's always another route. Where there's a will, there is a way. And to really understand how the subconscious works, how our epigenetics work, so that we can actually turn off different genetic expressions for disease and really bring ourselves back to optimal health.
Do you have a mantra or anything that you say to yourself when you're having a really bad day and you're having a hard time managing your perception of reality? What do you say to yourself, or what do you say to your clients?
Absolutely. I don't really think that there is one perception or one mantra that I say, but it's really about managing the perception. And I call these perception shifts. Like, if you're in a difficult situation, it's not to jump from 0 to 100 into pure bliss and positivity, especially if you're going through a hard time. But how can you pivot with one thought, right? Where can you expand your awareness from where you are into just seeing a higher perspective of things? So let's say you get fired from your job, right? What is one thought of positivity that could give that silver lining to you? And then you start building on that. And the more and more you create that upward trajectory of positive thoughts, you're really able to kind of pull yourself out of things. And so always managing your perceptions and understanding that no matter what difficulty comes your way, you have the ability to shift out of it through your perception and through gaining more awareness of what's going on and how this is actually could be positive for you.
Very inspiring. Now I want to shift gears back to Keisha, and I want to bring up your book that you published, Holistic Wealth 32 Life Lessons. What are some of your favorite life lessons in that book, and how do you live them or try to embody them?
Wow. Thanks, Barbara. There's so many lessons in this book. With the viral article, we started with 40 and then we narrowed it down to 32 for the book. And, I keep thinking back to chapter 3 in the book, which is having a personal mission. And I remember, when my husband died and I was thinking about how to move forward, in life. And, sometimes you feel like you're in a fork at the road and you're wondering which direction to turn. And you see your past behind you and your future in front of you. And you have to move forward, but you don't know how. Well, outlining a personal mission is one of the things that I tell people, I tell clients, readers, that it's so important to do that. And it's bigger than any job title or any one thing. It's how can I leave that legacy, that impact on the world? How can I leave this world in a better place? And so that's the idea of the personal mission. The other thing is, there's so many different chapters around so many important life lessons. But since we're talking about the power of positivity, and we've all been talking about the victim mindset and overcoming that to have a positive mindset, or in my terms, the holistic wealth mindset. One of the things that I also talk about is the holistic wealth method, because each of us makes 36,000 decisions each and every day. And if you think about it, can you imagine from the time we get up to the minute we go to sleep, we're making 36,000 decisions every day.
That's a lot of decisions.
And most of those decisions, that's a lot of decisions, exactly. And most of us are making them mindlessly, and probably non-strategically sometimes, and if we were to take the time, to build on that and start small, and be more mindful about those decisions, then we'd be building up some amazing positive habits. And it's with all our decisions across all, of our lives, with our relationships, with our money, with our finances, with our spiritual life, with our kids, or as parents, and so that's one of the things that I talk about a lot, with the holistic wealth method and the holistic wealth mindset, because all of that helps to build on positivity. And, it's so funny because I'm listening to my fellow panelists and I hear every word they're saying, and it resonates so highly with me because I had to pull myself together when I went through that tragedy too, and examine my thoughts. And it's so easy to think, wow, what else could I have done? Is there something else I could have done? Was it the doctors? Didn't they know what they were doing? And you think about all these different scenarios.
What
but
if this and what if
so
that?
important. Exactly, but it's so important for us to not dwell there and not to get stuck in that. In my book, I call it the valley of dry bones. I think it's we need to have more of those mountaintop moments where we pull ourselves together and we think about how we can use this experience, whatever experience it is that you're going through. How can we use the experience to be more positive and to impact those around us more positively? And whatever it is that we have, or summation of our life experience, what we've been through, our childhood or profession, we can use that to really impact the world in such a great way.
Now, David, you're certainly leaving a legacy. You're certainly living the legacy. Talk to us about some of the things that have worked for you in your journey. I know you're a big fan of visualization, exercise, meditation, gratitude. What are some of the most powerful things that have worked for you?
Some of the most powerful, you know what? Visualization is a huge thing. It's if people could practice visualization, if they can visualize themselves in the positions that they want to be in tomorrow, next week, next year, in 10 years, that goes a long ways. Now, visualization can't do anything for you if you're not going to have any application. And so I also learned that you need to set yourself up for success. And that's success every single day. You need to have a good routine that's successful. And so a lot of gurus, a lot of people will say you need to take a cold shower, you need to meditate, you need to go for a walk in the wilderness or in the jungle environment, or up in the mountains. You need to surround yourself with positive people and positive thoughts. The truth is, we're not all the same. Every single person is different. So I would employ people to try things. And I tell my clients, 3 months, try something 3 months. You think that this cold shower thing is going to make you optimal? Do it for 3 months and see if you like it or not after 3 months. And if you don't like it, trash it, scrap it, and try something else. But finding your optimal state, whatever that is, if that's, self-affirmations, if that's, working out vigorously every morning. For example, I cannot stand working out in the morning. I'm a gym rat. I love working out, or did before my spinal surgery, but I don't like working out in the morning. So what do I do in the morning? I get up, I have water, right? Always drink a glass of water. I come up to my office and I meditate. I stretch. That's how I'm optimal. And I start before, even I skipped ahead. I start before I even get up. You have to optimize your sleep, right? Optimize your thinking, optimize your entire life. And that can't be done unless you try. Try things 3 months, try it, scrap it if it doesn't work. If it does work, keep it, try to implement something else.
I love your point, David, that everyone is different, and what works for you might not work for someone else and vice versa, but it's a good idea to have an open mind and to try everything. I want to ask Jenna, what are some of the tools and tips and tricks that you teach your clients in terms of how to start a positive routine, how to set the mood for the rest of your day? We know that what we tell ourselves, what we tell our brains will in turn feed our bodies for the rest of the day. And that's very interesting. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. We have to think of the thoughts that we have as seeds, right? And we get to decide what we're watering those thoughts with, right? And also to recognize, I think we have something close to like 80,000 thoughts a day. And it's not that we have to believe every single thought, right? And recognizing that we might wake up with feeling a little bit down, but that doesn't have to determine the rest of our day. And so for me, I really encourage my clients to journal in the morning and create a gratitude practice, and this really starts to program the mind to look for positivity and look for things that are beautiful and that are going well. And so that when you are met with a challenge or a circumstance that is not the best, you really are in a mindset to take it on and not let it kind of throw you off. So journaling is huge. Gratitude is huge. I also am a big fan of meditation and breath work and really just activating the body. I have this rule where it's like 10 minutes for your mind, 10 minutes for your body, and 10 minutes for your soul. So in terms of your mind, really getting up, either listening to positive affirmations or something motivational to really kickstart your day in that way and get you ready for mentally for the day. And then for your body, just doing some gentle movement, some stretching. If you want something a little bit more intense, maybe doing a HIIT workout. And your soul, really just allowing yourself to either pray or just focus on something that you are wanting to create, that visualization aspect that David was talking about before. So those are some really great tips that, are free and you can implement starting tomorrow.
And in terms of gratitude, we hear a lot about the importance of keeping a gratitude journal, but what if you're just in such a bad mood, or you're just going through such a dark time in your life that you simply can't find anything to be grateful for and still feel authentic, still believe what you're writing down? What do you do in that case?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, it's important to have awareness of where you are, right? This is not to create these toxic positivity jumps and trying to get yourself into believing that you are grateful for all these things when you're really in a difficult position. And anytime your mindset isn't really able to shift, or you're not really able to get out of that rut, is to change your state. And what I really encourage people to do is move your body, shake it off, dance, put on a good song, and just kind of move your body. It does wonders for our mind. And if we can really get out of our body and move the stagnant energy, we really have a better chance at being able to activate that gratitude from that heart center and not trying to just say things and hoping that we'll believe them. But,
almost at the end of our time together, unfortunately. So really quickly, Jenna, where can our viewers and listeners find you?
Yes, so my website is www.beyondthebelief.com, and my Instagram is _Jenna Sophia, where I share a lot of good perception shifts and subconscious hacks.
Perfect. And David, where can we find your book, and where can our viewers find out more about your coaching and workshops that you're holding?
Well, the book is all over Amazon, all over the world. So go get the book. It's cheap and you're going to absolutely love it. And then if you really like me and you want to go and check me out, go to www.upna.net. That's Unlimited Potential Network. You're going to absolutely love the webpage and connect with me, even if you just want to talk. I just love to talk.
I love your positivity, David. And finally, last but not least, Keisha, where can our viewers find you and your book?
Yeah, so the book's available everywhere, Barbara, online. It's on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Target, everywhere online. It's there all over the world internationally, so people can get it wherever they need to. And my website is KeishaBlair.com, so it's www.KeishaBlair.com. And on Instagram and Twitter, my handle is @KeishaO'Blair. And like David, I love hearing from people. Just drop me a friendly line. I absolutely love hearing from people. I'll answer questions or just say hi. I love that.
Thank you so much to all three of you for joining us tonight. Of course, David joining us all the way from Greece, and Jenna all the way from London, where it's the middle of the night. And of course, our wonderful Keisha Blair, who's right here local to Ottawa. Thank you so much to all three of you for sharing your wisdom and insights tonight. If you're joining us tonight for the show, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you again in the studio next week. Have a great night.
Call the Rogers TV viewer response line, email us, or connect with us on social media.